Hello and welcome to Daily Current Affairs by UPSC IAS. Today is 21st June 2019 and the topics for discussion are ICANN, Access Watch and Reserve Aware, WASHI paper, Monetary Policy Committee, Map Aided Program and previous year question revision series. Coming to the first topic, ICANN. Now, why this has been in news is because this ICANN is a global internet giant, and so ICANN and India's body NASSCOM has announced a collaboration to develop identifier technology that can be used for managing devices and infrastructure using internet. Let's talk about ICANN now. ICANN stands for Internet Cooperation for Assigned Names and Numbers. It is a non-profit body that administers domain names and IP addresses globally. It was created in 1998 to take over the task of assigning web addresses. Presently now it has assumed the responsibility and functions which was previously done by the US government. So these functions are IP address space allocation, protocol parameter assignment, domain name system management and root server system management. Now, this is an important fact, is that the ICANN, it is not ICANN, but it is the International Telecommunications Union, which is the specialized agency of UN in terms of information and communications technology that sets and publishes regulations and standards relevant to electronic communication and broadcasting technologies of all kinds. Now, that will include radio, television, satellite, telephone, and internet. So, why this is important is because maybe UPSC can ask a question: which body does this activity? It can give ICANN, but it is not ICANN; it will be ITU. Coming to the next topic is Access Watch and Reserve Aware. Now, why this has been in news is because WHO has urged all countries to adopt Access Watch and Reserve guidelines to reduce the spread of antimicrobial resistance. Let's talk about Aware now. It is a global campaign urging governments to adopt a tool to reduce the spread of antimicrobial resistance. This tool was developed by WHO's Essential Medicines List and contains the rising resistance, the ways which with microbacterial resistance is increasing and how to make antibiotics more safer and more effective in reducing these microbial issues. Now, it specifies which antibiotics to use for most of the common and serious infections, which one should be available at healthcare systems at all times, and it also specifies which antibiotics should be used, the minimum, like a last resort way, which antibiotics must be used. This new campaign aims to increase the proportion of global consumption of antibiotics in the access group to at least 60%, so that to reduce the use of antibiotics and making it increasing its risk to resistance. Now, you will be wondering what is access group. So basically, WHO classifies antibiotics into three categories. That is access group, watch group and reserve group. Now, out of this, the access group antibiotics lowers the risk of resistance. Why? Because it is a narrow spectrum antibiotics. Now, you'll be wondering what is narrow spectrum antibiotics. Basically, it is that it targets only a specific microorganisms. Access antibiotics lowers the risk of resistance because they are narrow spectrum antibiotics. Now, narrow spectrum antibiotics means that it targets only specific microorganisms instead of a large group, which today's antibiotic medicines are doing. It focuses not only just on one but a large number of bacteria. Now, access antibiotics are also cheaply available because there are many generic formulas for that. In India, the Health Ministry has made it mandatory to display a 5 mm thick vertical band on the packaging of these drugs. Why? Because the people should be sensitized and be cautioned while buying these drugs, because if you are buying it, without knowing what you're, without prescriptions, you may be increasing the resistance of the bacteria in your own body, and which can later on spread. That is how the resistance of the bacteria is increasing. So if you have to buy only prescription drugs, the the Health Ministry has made it mandatory for putting a vertical band, red band on these drugs. Coming to the next point is that WHO has released a prescription called Keep It Simple, and this is to combat the growing menace of antibiotic abuse and increasing the resistance worldwide. The next topic is washi paper. So what is washi paper? Washi paper is basically a traditional Japanese paper. It is a handmade paper manufactured from plants like mulberry and other sorts. Now why it is little bit more unique is that these mulberry fibers, they are longer than the materials that we use in making the western or the modern paper these days. So it has been in news because the Japan's washi paper's market value has been decreasing despite the fact that UNESCO has placed it in the Intangible Cultural Heritage tag. It has placed this thing in the Intangible Cultural Heritage list of UNESCO. So talking about intangible cultural heritage. Now, the intangible cultural heritage can be a practice, representation, expression, knowledge, or skill, or anything which the UNESCO considers unique and a part of a place cultural heritage. It can include monuments, collection of objects, traditions, or living expressions, like our oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, festivals, etc. Now, it is not necessary that these represent only inherited traditions, but can also be contemporary in nature and can be urban practices also. Now, this contributes to the social cohesion, encouraging a sense of identity and responsibility which helps the individuals feel they are a part of the society. Coming to India, India has a total of 13 intangible cultural heritages which is there in the UNESCO's list. The latest addition has been the Kumbh Mela in the UNESCO's list. The Sangeet Natak Academy is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Culture, and it is a Sangeet Natak Academy which is the nodal office for all matters related to intangible cultural heritage in India. Coming to the next topic is Monetary Policy Committee. Now, why this has been in news is because according to this MPC's meeting, the growth impulse of our country has significantly weakened. Talking about the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee is a committee of the Reserve Bank of India headed by the governor to fix the interest rate so as it can control the inflation happening in the country. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee has been defined by the Reserve Bank of India in 1934, and it is constituted also under the same act. This MPC has replaced the earlier system wherein the RBI governor had complete control over all the monetary policy decisions. So now if you think about that, it is better also, because a full committee is coming together and making decisions on the monetary policy of our country. It will be more transparent and will add a lot of value to it. Talking about the composition of the committee, it will have 6 members wherein the RBI governor will be the chairperson. The other members are the RBI Deputy Governor and one official appointed by the RBI board. The other 3 members will be representing the government, and these 3 members will be appointed by the central government based on the recommendations of a search cum selection committee chaired by the cabinet secretary. Coming to the map aided program, today we will be talking about the national parks of Manipur. So Manipur has 2 national parks, Kibol Lamjau National Park and Sirohi National Park. Talking about the first national park, Kibol Lamjau National Park, it is a very important national park because it is the only floating national park in the world and it is part of the Loktak Lake. Now, if you look at the pictures of this, you will see many floating green regions on the lake. Now, basically, these are basically decomposed plant material which are locally called as food maize. Now, Kibol Lamjau National Park is very important for the brown antlered deer, locally known as the Sangai deer. Coming to the next national park is the Sirohi National Park. It is very famous for its Sirohi lily. Now, being at an altitude, it has a unique feature that there's tropical dense forest in the bottom region, and on the hilltops it has temperate forest. So, 2 different kinds of forest is located in this national park. Coming to the previous year question revision series, the question is, recently linking of which of the following rivers was undertaken? A. Kaveri and Tungabhadra, B. Godavari and Krishna, C. Mahanadi and Son, and finally D. Narmada and Tapi. So now, our government of India is really pushing this idea of river linking. Why? Because India's location in the world is that it is highly monsoon dependent. But now, due to the erratic nature of the monsoon itself, what happens is in one region we'll have flood, while in the other region we'll have drought. So such issues can be managed by linking of rivers. So recently, on this front, Government of India had linked Godavari and Krishna river. So the answer for this question will be B, Godavari and Krishna. I hope you like this session. If you have any queries or comments, you can please write down in the comment section below. Thank you.